Your Nan kept more money in a biscuit tin than most people keep in their current account today, and she never paid a penny in fees to do it. While the banks dreamed up overdraft charges and tempted families onto the never-never, she quietly built a fortress no manager could touch. Number 14 on this list was so effective that one building society reportedly tried to discourage it. And number 3? Banks spent decades trying to train it out of an entire generation. These 25 habits kept ordinary families debt-free when the whole system was built to do the opposite. Before we start, hit that subscribe button, because your Nan knew something the high street has spent 50 years trying to make you forget. Let us count down the 25 smartest money habits that vanished from British homes. Number 25. The copper jar. Every Nan had one. An old sweet jar, a chipped teapot with no lid, or a tin that once held biscuits, sitting on the windowsill where the coppers went at the end of each day. She would tip out her purse and let every halfpenny, farthing, and threepenny bit drop in, never leaving them loose to be frittered. By Christmas, that jar held 2 or 3 pounds, and in 1955 that was real money, enough for the goose or a child's main present from under the tree. The banks had no use for coppers. They would not even count them without a sour face and a long queue. But your Nan understood something the manager never grasped, that a fortune is built a penny at a time, quietly, while nobody is watching. The jar charged no fees and paid no interest, but it asked for none either. And every coin that went in was a coin the high street never clawed back. Number 24. Make do and mend. When a heel wore through a sock, your Nan reached for the darning mushroom, not the bin. She had learned during the war that a needle and a reel of grey wool could add a year to a jumper and 3 winters to a pair of school socks. She turned shirt collars, patched trouser knees with squares cut from worn-out garments, and let down hems as children grew. A reel of cotton cost a penny, and mended a dozen things. New clothes cost shillings nobody had spare. The Board of Trade once printed pamphlets teaching this, then the country quietly forgot it the moment the shops filled up again. The banks loved that. A family that bought new every season was a family reaching for the catalogue and the credit slip. But your Nan's mending basket meant she never borrowed a shilling to clothe her children, and that independence was worth more than anything off the peg. Number 23. Saving brown paper, string, and jars. Open any kitchen drawer in a 1950s home, and you would find a tight ball of string, a folded stack of brown paper smoothed flat, and a shelf of rinsed jam jars waiting for a second life. Nothing arrived in the house that did not leave a useful part behind. String tied the next parcel, brown paper wrapped the next gift or lined the next drawer. Jars held buttons, screws, homemade jam, and the loose change that never quite made it to the bank. A jar of jam from the shop cost good money, so a jar you filled yourself from windfall apples cost almost nothing. This was thrift as instinct, a refusal to pay twice for what you already owned. The throwaway age had not yet been sold to us. Your Nan knew that the cheapest thing in any house is the thing you have already got, and she never bought a roll of string in her life. Number 22. The shopping list, written and obeyed. Your Nan went to the grocer with a list in pencil, and she did not deviate from it. Not for the special offer stacked by the door, not for the biscuits the shopkeeper pushed, not for anything she had not planned to buy before she left the house. She knew to a penny what the week's food should cost, and she carried only that much cash. The supermarkets had not yet learned to put sweets at the till and bread at the back to march you past everything else, but the corner shop tried its tricks all the same. The list was her armor. It turned shopping from temptation into arithmetic. Banks and shops alike profit from the impulse buy, the little extra that adds up to an overdraft by Friday. Your Nan's pencil list was a quiet act of war against that, and she won it every single week without ever raising her voice. Number 21. Buying in season and stocking the larder. When plums were twopence a pound in August because the trees were groaning, your Nan bought them by the basket and bottled them. When the greengrocer had a glut of runner beans, she salted them down in a stone crock to last the winter. The larder was her bank, and it paid better interest than any passbook. She understood that prices rose when things were scarce and fell when they were plenty, so she bought at the bottom and ate at the top. A full larder meant she never paid the panic price in February for what cost pennies in September. Modern shoppers buy the same strawberries in January at 4 times the summer cost and never notice the robbery. Your Nan noticed everything. She turned the seasons themselves into savings, and the only fee was a Saturday afternoon spent bottling fruit with the wireless on. Number 20. The housekeeping tins. This was the system that ran the British home, and it was pure genius. Your Nan kept a row of tins or jars on the mantelpiece or in the dresser, each one labelled in her own hand. Rent, coal, gas, insurance, boots, Christmas. On the day the wage packet came home, she divided it out, a few shillings into each tin before a single penny was spent. The rent tin was sacred. You did not touch the rent tin if the heavens fell. What was left over, and only what was left over, was what the family lived on that week. There were no surprises, no missed payments, no brown envelopes. Banks call this budgeting now and sell you an app to do it. Your Nan did it with empty OXO tins and an iron will, and she never once spent money she had already promised to something else. Number 19. The Christmas Club. From January onwards, your Nan handed a shilling or two each week to the club run out of the back of the butcher's, the grocer's, or the corner shop. A woman with a ledger marked it down against her name, and by December that steady drip had grown into a turkey, a joint of ham, and the trimmings, all paid for long before the festive prices climbed. There was no interest, but there was something better. The money was out of the house and out of temptation, locked into Christmas before the year had even warmed up. The discipline was the whole point. A family that saved a shilling a week for Christmas was a family that did not borrow for it in November, did not start the new year owing money to anyone. The banks would far rather have lent you the lot at interest. Your Nan paid herself instead, 1 shilling at a time. Number 18. The Coal Club. Heat in a British home was not cheap, and a cold snap could break a budget that was already stretched thin. So your Nan joined the Coal Club, paying a little every week through the summer when she barely needed the fire, building a credit with the coalman so that when the frost came in November, the cellar filled up without a crisis. She spread the cost of winter across the whole year, the same way the canny do today, only she did it with a club card and a tally rather than a direct debit. It meant she was never caught short, never had to choose between a warm room and a full plate in the worst weeks of January. Burning money to stay warm is the oldest expense there is. Your Nan refused to let it ambush her, smoothing the seasons into something her purse could carry without ever once going without. Number 17. Trading stamps. When Green Shield stamps and the co-op's own stamps arrived, your Nan licked every single one into the little books with religious devotion. Each purchase earned a sheet, and a full book could be redeemed for a toaster, a clock, a tea set, things she would otherwise have had to find hard cash for. She was effectively being paid to shop where she shopped anyway, a discount in disguise, and she never left a stamp on the counter. The clever part was that she never spent extra to chase them. She let them accumulate on the ordinary weekly shop and treated the gift catalogue as a windfall, never a goal. Loyalty schemes today work on exactly the same psychology, but they are designed to make you spend more, not save. Your Nan turned the trick around entirely. She took the reward and refused the bait, filling her kitchen with small luxuries she had quietly earned a stamp at a time. Number 16. The Co-op Divey. First pattern break. Here is where the high street started paying attention. Every Nan worth her salt had a divey number she could recite faster than her own telephone number, called out at the co-op counter with every purchase. Twice a year, the cooperative paid a dividend back to its members, a share of the profits returned in proportion to what they had spent. For many families, the divvy was a lump sum that bought the children's shoes or paid for a week at the seaside. It was the customer owning a slice of the shop, the profit coming home instead of vanishing into a shareholder's pocket. The big banks and the chain stores loathed this model because it cut them out entirely. Why pay a bank to hold your money when the shop itself handed you a bonus for being loyal? Your Nan knew her divvy number to her dying day, and it was the closest thing the working class ever had to a share portfolio. Number 15. National Savings Stamps for the Children. Your Nan started her grandchildren saving before they could spell the word. A few pence each week bought a savings stamp with a picture on it. A robin, the young prince, and the child stuck it lovingly into a book. When the book was full, it was paid into a post office account, and the lesson, far more valuable than the shillings, was learned for life, that money set aside grows, and money spent is gone. Schools sold them. Post offices sold them. A generation learned the rhythm of saving before they ever earned a wage. The banks, of course, would much rather raise a generation comfortable with spending and at ease with debt. And in the end, that is exactly the generation they got. But your Nan's grandchildren learned the older truth first, with a tube of glue and a paper book, that the saving habit set early is the hardest habit for anyone to ever sell out of you. Number 14. Premium bonds. When Ernie started picking numbers in 1956, your Nan was first in the queue at the post office. Premium bonds gave her the thrill of a flutter with none of the risk, because your stake was always safe, and only the prizes were the gamble. She bought a few pounds worth, tucked the certificate in the dresser drawer, and checked the winning numbers in the paper each month with a cup of tea and real hope in her chest. It scratched the itch that might otherwise have gone to the pools or the bookies, but here she could never actually lose her money. A building society manager once grumbled that bonds pulled savings clean out of the high street, and he was right. Your Nan's pounds sat safe with the government, dreaming of a win, never feeding a bank's lending book or earning a manager his bonus. She kept those bonds for 40 years and called them her lucky draw. Number 13. The Post Office Savings Book. Long before anyone trusted a high street bank with their wages, your Nan trusted the post office. That little buff savings book, stamped and initialed by hand at the counter, was the safest place she knew, backed by the crown itself, and sitting right at the end of her own street. She paid in what she could spare on a Friday, and watched the balance climb in the clerk's neat ink. There were no flashy adverts, no salesman trying to sell her a loan she did not need, no clever account that charged for the privilege of holding her own money. Just a counter, a stamp, and a running total she could see with her own eyes. The big banks spent decades trying to lure that money onto their books with free gifts and promises. Your Nan kept hers where she could walk to it, where the queue knew her name, and where nobody ever once tried to sell her debt. Number 12. Paying weekly, in cash, with the rent book. The rent man came on a Friday, and your Nan had his money ready in an envelope before he knocked, counted twice and exact to the penny. He marked the rent book, she watched him do it, and that book was her receipt, her proof, her protection. Everything ran this way. The insurance man, the milkman, the coal man, all paid in cash, all recorded by hand, all settled before the week turned. There was no buying now and worrying later, no statement arriving a month after the damage was done. The reckoning happened every single Friday, out in the open, with coins on the table. You always knew exactly where you stood because you settled up before you slept. Banks make their living on the gap between buying and paying, the float, the interest, the fee. Your Nan closed that gap to zero every week of her life, and she never owed a soul past Sunday. Number 11. Never the never never. Second pattern break. Controversy incoming. Here is the rule your Nan would carve on her own headstone. If you could not pay for it, you did not have it. Hire purchase. The never never. Buying on tick. Whatever the salesman called it that week. She would not touch it. When the smart new 3-piece suite could be had for just 10 bob a week and yours today, she said no and saved up instead, even if it meant sitting on the old settee for another 2 years. She had watched neighbors sign the papers in a glow of pride and spend the next 3 years paying double for furniture they had already worn out. The whole credit industry was built on convincing decent families that waiting was old-fashioned and owning now was modern. It was the most profitable lie the banks ever told. Your Nan never believed a word of it. She paid full price in full and walked out owning the thing outright, and she slept the better for it. Number 10. The Catalogue Club. Paid on time. Now, your Nan was not against the catalogue entirely. The big books from Kay's and Littlewoods let her spread the cost of a winter coat, or a pair of school shoes over 20 weeks. If run carefully, it was a sensible thing. The club woman came round on her rounds, collected the shillings, marked the card, and the goods arrived without a crippling lump sum. The genius was in the discipline. Your Nan only ever ordered what she had already decided to buy, paid every installment dead on time, and cleared the card before she opened another. She used the catalogue as a tool, never a trap. The companies, of course, hoped you would keep ordering, keep rolling the balance, keep paying the interest baked quietly into the price. Your Nan took the convenience and refused the debt. She knew the difference between spreading a cost you had planned and chasing a want you could not afford, and that knowing saved her a fortune. Number 9. Dodging the tallyman and the provvy. Third pattern break. This is the one that kept families poor for generations, and your Nan saw straight through it. The tallyman and the provident check seemed like a kindness, a voucher you could spend at the shops today and pay back in small weekly sums. But the interest hidden in those repayments was brutal, often half as much again as the thing was worth, and it preyed on exactly the families who could least afford it. Your Nan would let him knock and not answer the door before she signed a provy check. She knew that the poorer you were, the more the credit man charged you. A cruel arithmetic where being short of money cost you extra for the privilege. So she went without until the housekeeping tin could cover it. It was harder in the short run and far cheaper in the long. The doorstep lenders made fortunes from those who said yes. Your Nan said no and stayed free. Number 8. The hidden hoard. Every Nan had money the bank knew nothing about. Folded notes pinned inside the lining of a coat. a roll of pound notes in the tea caddy at the back of the cupboard, coins in a sock at the bottom of the wardrobe, and famously, money under the mattress. People laugh at it now, but there was hard sense behind it. Banks failed. Wars came. A house could be reached in the night when a counter could not be reached until Monday. Your Nan kept a reserve she could put her hands on in a heartbeat, money that earned no interest but answered to no one and appeared on no statement. It was her emergency fund before anyone had invented the phrase. The float that meant a burst pipe or a sudden funeral never sent her cap in hand to a manager. She trusted herself with her own money first, and the institutions a distant second. Number 7. The pawnshop cycle. In the hardest streets, your Nan ran a rhythm as old as the cobbles, and there was no shame in it then, only sense. On Monday morning, when the wage from Friday was running thin, she pledged the good Sunday suit or her best coat at the pawnbroker for a few shillings to see the week through. On Saturday, when the next wage came in, she redeemed it, ready to be worn to church again. The pawnbroker charged his bit, but it was a known cost, a tool used with eyes wide open, not a debt that spiraled. The suit lived more of its life behind the counter than in the wardrobe, and nobody minded. It was a working family's overdraft. Only the bank could not change the terms on a whim, could not ring you up, could not write to your employer. Your Nan borrowed against what she owned, on her terms, and always, always bought it back. Number 6. Bartering and swapping with the neighbors. Your Nan's street ran on a second economy the taxman never saw, and the banks could never touch. She swapped a jar of her jam for a bag of someone's runner beans. The man 3 doors down mended her wireless, and she took in his washing in return. Hand-me-down clothes flowed between families with children of staggered ages. Prams and cots and school blazers passed along until they fell apart. Nobody wrote any of it down, but everybody kept a rough account in their head, and it all came out even in the end. This was wealth that never became cash, and so it never lost a penny to a fee or a margin or a rate of interest. It was the community acting as its own bank, its own insurer, its own shop. Your Nan was rich in a currency no economist could measure, the favors owed, and owing up and down her own front step. Number 5. Buy cheap, buy twice. Your Nan would spend good money once rather than poor money 3 times, and it looked like extravagance to anyone who did not understand it. She bought the heavy cast-iron pan, the leather shoes that could be resoled, the good wool blanket, the solid wooden furniture, and then she kept them for 40 years. Cheaper versions were a false economy, and she knew it in her bones, because the cheap pan warped, the cheap shoes leaked by Christmas, the cheap chair wobbled within the year, and you ended up buying the thing twice over and grumbling both times. So she saved a little longer and bought the thing that lasted. It was the opposite of the throwaway world being sold to us, where everything is meant to break, so you buy it again. Your Nan's kitchen still has her mother's pan in it. That is not nostalgia. That is the cheapest pan anyone in this family ever owned. Number 4. The money box and the lesson behind it. Long before pocket money was a right, your Nan put a money box in a child's hands and taught them the most powerful idea they would ever learn. A coin saved is a coin that grows, and a coin spent is a coin gone forever. The box did not open easily, and that was the point. You had to want the thing badly enough to fill the whole box before you could have it. Children learned patience, the gap between wanting and getting, the quiet satisfaction of watching a sum grow heavier week by week. A generation raised on that delayed pleasure grew up hard to sell to, and harder still to tempt into debt. The banks would rather a child grow up easy with credit and uneasy with waiting, and largely they got their wish. But your Nan's grandchildren learned the older way first, and some of them never unlearned it. Number 3. Cash for everything. Owing no one. Fourth pattern break. This is the habit the banks hated most of all, the one they have spent 50 years and untold millions trying to break, and your Nan held it like a religion. She paid for everything in cash. The wage came home as notes and coins, the bills went out as notes and coins, and what was left was what she had. No more and no less. She could feel her money. She could see it leaving her hand. There was no statement she dreaded, no balance she did not know, no interest accruing in the dark while she slept. A bank makes nothing from a customer who owes nothing and borrows nothing. And your Nan was that customer for 60 years. They wanted her on cards, on credit, on overdrafts, on the endless rolling balance that pays the building's lights. She wanted none of it. Cash in hand, debts cleared, owing not one living soul. That was her whole philosophy, and it made her freer than people earning 10 times what she ever did. Number 2. The building society passbook, and the mortgage paid off early. When your Nan and Granddad bought their house, they did it through the building society, an institution owned by its savers, not its shareholders. And they treated that mortgage as a debt to be killed as fast as humanly possible. Every spare pound went on to the capital. They overpaid when the dividend came in, when there was a bit extra at Christmas, whenever the housekeeping tins allowed it, because they understood that the interest was the enemy, and the sooner the debt died, the less it ate. They burned the mortgage years early, and held a small celebration the day the deeds came home. A bank prefers a mortgage that runs its full course and longer, because every year you owe is another year of interest in their pocket. Your Nan paid hers off in a hurry and spent the rest of her life owning the roof over her head outright, beholden to nobody. Number 1. The rainy day fund she would never, ever spend. And finally, in first place, the habit that crowned them all. Your Nan kept a sum set aside that she would not touch for anything short of catastrophe, and even then she touched it with a wince. It was not for a holiday. It was not for a treat. It was not even, in the end, for the rainy day, because she so seldom let one count. It was the deep foundation under everything else. The reason she never panicked, never begged, never bowed to a manager or a moneylender in her whole life. She lived on what came in, saved what she could, and guarded that final reserve like the keep of a castle. It meant that when the worst came, and over a long life the worst always comes, she met it standing up with her own money, on her own terms. The banks build their entire empire on people who have no cushion, who must borrow the moment life lurches. Your Nan refused to be one of them. That untouched fund was not money, it was dignity, kept in a tin. Here is the thing. Your Nan was not tight. She was free. She owed nobody, feared no brown envelope, and slept easy while the rest of the country was being taught to live on credit. Pick one habit this week: the copper jar, the housekeeping tins, the rainy day fund, and just start. Then tell me in the comments which one your Nan swore by, because these were never old-fashioned. They were the smartest money moves this country ever forgot. Your Nan knew. Now you know too.